Let's talk Tenet. Tenet is Christopher Nolan's latest outing and is meant to be the film that saves cinema. Obviously, with everything going on with COVID-19, there's not a lot of films coming out because people are too scared to release them for fear of losing money, which is obviously a rational fear to have. But it is good to be to see cinemas opening up again and they're showing this. I had the privilege of going to see it with a friend at an Odeon, and it was, experience-wise, it was fantastic. It was really, really nice just to be back in a cinema. But in terms of the film was not as good as the experience. Before we get into what I don't like, I want to talk about what I did like. Just like any other Nolan film, it's completely technically sound. Everything looks fantastic. Stunts, as always, extremely impressive. Nolan's known, well, maybe not known, but he has been known to do quite large-scale practical stunts, or effects. For example, The Dark Knight, when the Joker blows up the hospital, that is completely real. That is a building that they're allowed to demolish for the film. And with this one as well, there is a scene with a plane going through a hangar. That is also practical, surprisingly, from what I can find and research. It is a completely practical stunt, which is it's extremely impressive. It's not very often that you see a plane go through a hangar in a film without CGI, or they're using like smaller scale things. Performances all around completely solid. John David Washington does the best with what he's given. Michael Caine, for the one scene that he's in, is also good. He's a staple at this point. He has to be in every Nolan film. But yeah, Pattinson is the show stealer, as he is with most recent things with him in. The Lighthouse and The Devil All the Time come to mind. But yeah, everyone's decent, but the script doesn't allow them to be anything better than that. But we will go into that a bit later on. So a big part of Tenet is the idea of inversion. Inversion is the idea that there is always two of everything, and one thing is going backwards in time and one is going forwards. The action scenes where this is used look great. They're interesting to watch. There's it was in the trailer. There's a scene where the protagonist and the handler, Pattinson and Washington, go into a room and there's bullet holes in the glass, and Pattinson says, "What happened here?" And the protagonist says, "It hasn't happened yet." Little things like that I thought were really little cool uses of the idea, but it wasn't used enough. It's such a good idea, and it works quite nicely when used properly, which Nolan mostly does. So why not use it more? You've spent all this money on making this film and using these kinds of effects, so use them more. There is no reason you shouldn't use them more. The same can be said for a few of the little ideas of inversion, like for example, when you invert yourself, you have to wear an oxygen mask with oxygen from your timeline. Because if you breathe the oxygen of the other timeline, it can kill you. It's fatal, which is a really cool little idea again that I thought was pretty clever. Getting into what I don't like, there are I guess you call it three main issues that I have. One being the sound mixing. Nolan's always been guilty of not mixing his audio properly. The music always overpowers the dialogue. So, Dunkirk, Inception, and now Tenet. They're probably the three biggest examples of it. There are some scenes that are important, but you can't hear what they're saying because it's overcast by these loud, blaring sounds of bass. If this film is complicated, as are all Nolan's films, well, most of. So when you're giving us some exposition that is important, do not overshadow it with pure noise. We need to be able to hear it. I was saying before with the script, how he does the best with what he's given. He's not given much. John David Washington's character is literally called the protagonist. He even says at one point, "I'm the protagonist." It's just shallow. It's hard to care. Like, I didn't. If the protagonist died in that film, which he doesn't, I would not have given a shit because I knew nothing about him other than he was the protagonist. I'm meant to like him. Okay, I liked him because I liked the actor, but not because of the character. The annoying thing is, we know Nolan can pen interesting characters. We've seen Memento, we've seen Inception, Interstellar partially. We know he can do it, so why don't you? You have the time, the film's 2 hours long. Films have done brilliant development in less than that. Nolan is guilty now, more now than ever, of putting so much focus on the technicality and complexity of his ideas that he doesn't make the people involved in these ideas interesting. Okay, inversion's cool, but I don't care about anyone in the film, and I should. So, speaking of Nolan's bad habits, more in his recent ventures, kind of like last 10 years, he's making sure to explain the details of the complex parts of his films. Inception, Interstellar, and Tenet come to mind. It just doesn't need to be that way. He's being complex for the sake of confusing his audience. You don't need to do that. If you just don't explain it, you will get more people in that cinema, because then you have two kinds of people that will watch the film. You have one who are people like me who want to know what it is, so I will think on it. I will go and see the film again because I want to understand. And you have people who could not give less of a shit of how inversion works, but just want to see cool practical effects. Then Tenet would work for them as well. That's another type of audience maybe you're getting in there then, which you need, because I know Tenet needs to make a lot of money to even break even, which is not made yet. If you leave it open-ended, you attract more people, because then it appeals to a wider audience, but he doesn't do that. Interstellar's guilty of it, Tenet's guilty of it, Inception partly, not as bad though. It's just, it comes off as really self-indulgent. It's very much, I'm a lot smarter than you. Look at what I understand that you probably don't.
Don't try to understand it. Feel it.
And I don't like that. It puts me off wanting to go and see whatever his next film is, or rewatching his old ones, because they all come off as so self-absorbed, and it just doesn't work for me. But yeah, overall Tenet, it's okay. It's good. It's fine. It's just Nolan being Nolan. It looks great, technically fine. Performances are good. Action's fun. Again, like you could say that about any Nolan film. And then you've got, on the other side of the coin, you've got the bad sound mixing, shallow characters, and overall just big self-indulgence on Nolan's part. Overall, I'm going to give Tenet a B-. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I did want to talk about something more recent, because the last two videos that I've done have been filmed from the past few years. I know I'm a bit late to the party on Tenet, but I've made it now. And the next video that I've got in mind is not a review. It's a video essay, so it probably will be a rather lengthy one, because it is two films I absolutely adore. But I will leave it to you to find out what they are. It should hopefully be out again 2 weeks. I'm going to try and stick to this bi-weekly schedule that I've started with this video. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I should hopefully see you in a couple of weeks.